Hey, so welcome back to the shop, friends. Last time we glued up the walnut end grain cutting board, and today we're going to go ahead and run it through the planer, and we should get to see really what it's going to look like when it's done. So I've got both cutting boards glued up. This is the walnut and this is the cherry. The cherry is going to be a little bit smaller than the walnut. I think I want the walnut cutting board to be a pepper board, a pepper cutting board, and I want the cheese board to be, or the cherry board to be a cheese board. You may notice that I glued on a piece of softwood to the end of the cutting board, and the purpose of that is to keep from tearing out that end grain as it runs through the planer. I did the exact same with the walnut board as well. So it was 12 degrees here in Tennessee last night, and it's about 39 or 40 outside right now. So I've got the wood stove going. I actually went back and completely cleaned the stove out this year. It didn't seem to be drafting really well last year, and it didn't seem like it was getting enough airflow, so I cleaned it out really well, and boy, it's burning good now. I don't have a really great place to store my firewood. I've got it stacked against the wall here, but hopefully eventually I'll have a space to store all that firewood, but this will work for now. So when you run your end grain cutting board through the planer, you need to have that really that piece of scrap there on the end to keep that end grain here from breaking off. So I'm going to run it through the planer with that scrap piece on the back end.
Is this the last time I can see you in a while? Is it the truth that you'll be living tonight? We should take a walk, then a swim in the sea. That will mean everything, yeah, everything to me. Can we get out of this one? Waiting and missing. I never thought you would leave me here. We can get out of this one.
My planer has two different settings. The number 2 setting is 96 cuts per inch, and number 1 setting is 179 cuts per inch. So I went ahead and dimensioned both boards down to 1 inch in thickness using the number 2 setting, and then I ran it through a couple times using the finishing setting and the number 1 setting at the 179 cuts per inch to smooth it out to decrease the amount of sanding that I'm going to have to do. So what we're left with is just gorgeous. Look at that. Look at that end grain on that walnut. I love the contrasting colors. And then here is the cherry board. Making cutting boards is just such a great project for the new woodworker because people absolutely love them. They make such great gifts. So now what I need to do for both of these boards is I want to square them up and make them as square as possible. The edges that are most square are the ones in which we pulled it against the jig. So I'm going to use those as my straight edge, and then I can go through and I can get at least a good 90 degree edge, a good 90 degree here on one corner, and then I can run it through the table saw and square it up. I don't want to take much off because it would show, and I want to make sure that I'm only taking off maybe, you know, a 1/16 or maybe a 32nd of an inch on each side. That way you don't really notice that the blocks are smaller on the edges. You can also see on the cherry board where there's some of that punky wood there. Remember, we're going to take that out with the router and put an inlay in there to that way the surface will be really hard, and when you're cutting into it, you know, it won't be like food and grime and things won't get stuck in that punky wood.
All feelings, just like we got through everything now. But I see you, honey. This is in no way funny. We will waiting here when you come home. Can we get out of this one? Waiting there, missing. I never thought you would leave me here. We can get out of this one. A tunnel of feelings, just like we got through everything now. But I see you, honey. This is
So for the cherry board, I just took just the width of the saw blade off the edges of the board, and then that can give me some really nice clean edges. And then we can take that to the router, or we could use our block plane and just do a chamfer on the edges. So I'm super excited how these are turning out. I was able to square up both of the boards using just the sliding miter saw. I think for the walnut board, I'm just going to leave it as is. I'll bevel, or I'll chamfer all the edges of the board and sand it and then oil it. I really like the look of it. I don't think I want to add an inlay to it. But for the cherry board, I do want to add an inlay to take up those, to take the place of that punky wood. And I think it'll be a really nice addition to it. I have a piece of walnut here it was some scrap pieces from the cutting board that I glued together, and I planed it down to about 1/2 inch in thickness. And I'm going to use that to make the inlay. And I think what I plan to do is draw a piece of cheese on there, and then I'm going to cut it out with the bandsaw, and then I'll trace it onto the board and route it out and chisel out the waste. And then we'll glue that into the cutting board. It'll be really cool. So next time we'll go ahead and finish off the walnut cutting board, and then start working on the inlay portion of the cherry cutting board. So this is a really fun project. There's a lot of different ways you can make cutting boards, and they're a really great project for the beginner woodworker and also the experienced and seasoned woodworker. I can tell you that all the people I've given cutting boards to for Christmas or gifts and things have been very appreciative of the cutting boards, and the cool thing is that they last for a really long time if they're taken care of. So anyhow, I think that's all the time we have for today, guys. Next time we will get back to work on the cutting board, so we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.